A real quick one this week. As I was going through and doing the lens cap project from last time, I realized that there was a small lens that I wanted to make a Waterhouse stop for. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about Waterhouse stops and what they are. So modern lenses have an iris. And that iris closes, and what that closing does is that changes the f-stop of the lens, and it also increases depth of field. But as a consequence, less light comes through the lens. So in order to get more depth of field, you need to add more light because you're having less light come through this aperture here. Now, old lenses, period lenses, a lot of them did not have an iris. That hadn't been invented yet. So instead, they would put these Waterhouse stops into the lens, and that would effectively do the same thing. Even before Waterhouse stops, though, you had what were called cone stops. These were inserts you would put into the front of the lens. These didn't last very long because Waterhouse stops were much more convenient and easier to manufacture, and they're quite rare. And the fact that this lens came with one makes it pretty special. Many, many, many vintage lenses of this period have long since lost their Waterhouse stops. So I made these two for the Scoville Morrison Petzval lens, and I also made one for the Petzval projector lens that I have. But the Morrison and Swan lens that I have does not have one. And I would really like to start using that lens a little bit more, but I need a little bit more control over the image if I'm going to be doing close-up work or if I'm going outside. So I decided to make a Waterhouse stop for that. And then I decided that because I keep taping this Waterhouse stop up with a little tiny hole in it for the close-up work that I've been doing, I decided to make a third Waterhouse stop for the Morrison Petzval lens. So, without further ado, let's get to it. The first thing I need to do is I need to measure the inside dimension of this hole. So to do that, I'm going to carefully remove the rear element. I'm going to place that here. I'm going to cover it up. And then very carefully going to see if I can get this in there. Very carefully. Nope, not going to make that. So let's see if I can get in there. About 24 millimeters. So if I want to make one stop lower, I'm going to have to do 12 millimeters. So 12 millimeters is our goal for the size of the hole that we're looking for. Let's see, let's measure this, the width of this. Come on now. I'm trying to be clever. I shouldn't do that. Okay. 30. Okay, so 30 millimeters wide. So we've got this piece of spare aluminum. This is from some tins that I've cut, and we're just gonna try and be clever and score a line. It's not pretty, but it'll do. And then I want to come in here and make this curve on the bottom. So I'm just gonna, what do I have that can scratch this? roughly 15 from side. So that little cross mark right there is going to be the center of the hole that we're going to start drilling. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this and cut this radius here. And the whole seam's centered. Okay, that's good. As long as the hole seems centered when we're looking at it, we should be fine. A little off-center to me. Let's check. Yeah, it is off-center, isn't it? Yeah, we're slightly off-center. Okay, well, we can fix that in the next hole, hopefully. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to try to change that hole a little bit. So I'm going to try and grind it out a bit. Back on track. That looks a little more centered to me. I believe that's going to be heading in the right direction. Okay, then okay, that's great. I think we're getting there. It is a bit off center, but I don't think that's mission critical. There we go. That doesn't look half bad, actually. Let's measure 1028. So I'd like it to be just a bit wider. I think that's where this will come in. There we are. 11.2. Okay. Okay. There we go. Look at that. That is great. These reflective bits will cause havoc with our exposure and with reflections inside the lens itself. So I'm just going to take a Sharpie and dull that stuff down. There we go. That's our Waterhouse stop. So that is our finished Waterhouse stop. Perfect. That's excellent. Homemade Waterhouse stops are super easy to make, and if you've got some time and you've got some spare aluminum, I highly suggest you try it. It'll really give you a lot more use out of some of the lenses that you have, and I think it'll be a fun project. So there it is. Okay, so I've got these Waterhouse stops for the big Petzval lens here. I've got this big one, and I've got this medium one, which I continually tape over to make a smaller hole. So what I think I'm going to do is get rid of all of this, and I'm just going to make a third one so that I don't have to do this again. Because this, I can do better. Okay, so that's 74, so that's 74 would be 3%. Yep. Okay, is that? Yes, that's pretty close to perfect. Now I have a whole set of DIY Waterhouse stops for my big lens here. Well, there you have it. Thanks so much for joining me for this really quick little DIY thing. Little quick story about how I made these two. I was at an event and we were out in a field in the middle of nowhere, and I realized that the Scoville Morrison lens, which I had just bought, and this was one of the first times I had used it, it was too bright. I couldn't get a short enough exposure outdoors, and I didn't know what I was going to do. But I was stuck at the event. I had my Leatherman and a pair of tin snips, and I made these just out in the field. It was a bit like Tony Stark in a cave with a box of scrap. But yeah, these are a little rough around the edges, but they work fine. And I'm really pleased with how they turned out. And I'm super pleased that I now have a three stop set for this lens. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well out there. Thanks so much for joining me, my lovely patrons. You are the ones that make all of this madness possible. And my heart goes out to you, and I am so appreciative of your support. Thanks. We'll see you again soon.